So my name's Blanca and I'm on the Student Advisory Board.
I'm Sylvia and I'm also on the Student Advisory.
Sorry, someone walked into my room. But today we're going to be talking about the event Why Teach. So today we have Kirsten, Rebecca, and Kaylee with us, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We can start with anyone. Oh, yeah, there you go, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I am a junior elementary education major and getting an endorsement in ELL. I'm also minoring in theology. And I'm excited to be here.
My name is Kirsten. I am a junior elementary ed major. I'm working towards endorsements in ELL, middle level math, and reading. I'm also excited to be here. It'll be good.
My name is Kaylee Flanagan. I'm a junior and I'm a secondary education major. And I'm also a double major in mathematics, which is also my endorsement area.
Awesome, I'm so glad to have all of you here. And I think you saw in the chat, we kind of already went through like what our majors are, and I don't think I shared mine. So I'm elementary ed with a double major in environmental studies or science as well. And then my endorsement area is going to be environmental sustainability education. So just something I'm working towards. And then I'm not sure, Blanca, do you want to share yours?
Yeah, so I'm elementary education, double minor in ELL and reading instruction, and I'm a sophomore.
Awesome. And so then in the chat, we had this one question. Let me read it out loud. It was, if you could eat only one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? So I could go first. If I could eat one thing, it would probably be chicken teriyaki. I love that. And there's like this restaurant in a nearby town called Jay's Teriyaki, and it's just so delicious with like some white rice. I would eat that forever. I don't know who wants to go next.
I can go next. So my favorite would be pasillas, which is a traditional dish in Mexico. So that's probably what I would have. So they're bell peppers that are stuffed with cheese and like this spicy soup. So it's super good.
I think if I had to pick one thing, I'd have to go with stir fry, any kind of stir fry, mostly because you can mix it up. I don't think I could do one thing for my whole life.
I think if I could only eat one thing for the rest of my life, I think my practical side of my brain goes potatoes, because you can do so much with potatoes. I also really love potatoes, so yeah.
Well, I'm going to be the not practical one. I really like chocolate chip cookie dough, and I couldn't really think of a good like healthy food that I would want to eat for the rest of my life. There's a lot of good ones, but I couldn't settle on one, so I'm just going to go with that because it's really good.
I think those are all great options. I guess now we go into our actual panel. Does any of you want to start first and just take those 5 minutes to answer your questions? And then if you could state what question you're going to be answering, if you remember, that'd be really helpful.
I can go first. So I started with question number 1, which was what made you want to pursue a career in education? And so I really decided to pursue a career in education because of a teacher, which I feel is like what happens to most teachers. You have a teacher who inspires you to believe in your ability to teach other people. And I made the decision mostly because I loved watching the spark of understanding when, especially with math, when you get that, it's like a glory moment, like, oh my gosh. And so to see that is just really amazing. And I really want to keep watching that happen with my students. The other question I answered was, what has been how has been your experience in the School of Education? And I have really enjoyed being here. I've gotten to learn so much, and it has only increased my desire to want to keep teaching. Not to mention that Whitworth School of Education has so many opportunities for you to get into the classroom and really get that in-class experience. And then the biggest challenge, which was the second part of the question, has definitely been keeping up with the requirements that it has, but it's also a good thing because it definitely challenges you and makes you become a better teacher. So my next question is, what was my favorite education class I've taken so far? And for me, it has been Democracy, Schooling, and Leadership with Dr. Keith Lambert. And I love this class because it was really a discussion-based class that asked all the hard questions. So we talked about race, poverty, privilege, all those things that are almost like a taboo topic, and really unpacked it and looked at our role as educators within those realms. And then the final question that I answered is, what unique experience have I gotten to be a part of because of being at Whitworth? And for me is, I get to work in crazy unique classrooms, like from my experiences. So recently I was in a fully project-based learning classroom, which was super cool. I got to work with students and plan a project with these kids. I've also gotten to work in a low-income Title I school, which has been really interesting because I get to work with more high behavior students, lower academic levels, and it's just great to learn the different dynamics within different types of schools. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you for sharing. And is anyone who would like to go next?
I can go next. So my first question that I chose was question 2. During your time in the education program, what has been a meaningful or funny experience in the classroom? And so I was in the 300 block last semester, and I got to be in person in a school, which I was really thankful for. But in the math methods class, we had been talking about this idea of not using language like this is hard or this is easy because of how damaging that can be for students around that student using that language, and for that student in general. And so a couple days after that, I was helping facilitate a math test in the second grade classroom that I was in. And this one student was getting so frustrated because he just couldn't understand the question. And turns out there was a typo in the question. And so it was like really difficult for him, obviously. And he almost like started to cry, and he was like, I can't do this, just a lot of like negative self-talk. And I was able to kind of integrate some of the strategies we talked about in class to help him kind of take a step back and be like, hey, this is okay. It's okay that it's frustrating. And it was just really cool to see how practical those strategies were that we had learned in class just a few days prior. And that's just one thing I love about the education program. It's so application based. And yes, there's theories and stuff that you have to learn, but you can take what you're learning and directly apply it. So that was really exciting to see. The next question I chose was, what advice would you give to someone thinking about majoring in education? I actually almost changed my major about a year ago, and so I've definitely thought a lot about this. And I think one of the biggest things that kept me as an education major was, after thinking through the reasons why I wanted to pursue education, I come from a family that has a lot of educators, and so I think it's just kind of a natural thing I've been around. But I think for everyone that wants to go into this field, it's really important to think about what kind of life they imagine for themselves, because education and teaching, I think, it really becomes a lifestyle and not just a career, especially when you have other people's lives that you're kind of responsible for. And so, yeah, a lot of self-reflection, I think, is important when deciding whether or not to go into this field. And then the next question was, what education classes have been your favorite so far and why? So far for me, my favorite class I think has been EDU 321. And I'm blanking on the actual name of it, but a lot of study about behavior. I took it with Flint Simonson, and it's just such an interesting course, learning about behavior and kind of stuff that, like he said in class, like you can't unlearn once you learn about it. And it really helped me learn more about myself and the teacher that I might be, especially when dealing with behaviors. And it also kind of ignited this passion I have for kids with higher behaviors. And so, yeah, it was just super interesting and I really enjoyed it. And then the last question I chose was, what is your dream job? Because my dream job is actually not to be a teacher in this like normal school setting. My dream job, or I guess life thing, is to open a fully scholarship funded summer camp for students at Title I schools. I just really have a passion for wanting kids to get to be kids. And I think at a lot of schools that don't have all the necessary funding and things like that and are in harder areas of the city, it's more rare for kids to have those types of experiences in the summer where they really just get to have a carefree week and get to laugh with their friends and, you know, play at the pool or something like that. And so that's just like a dream I have, to be able to do that. And I know education's a great major to kind of have in that, I don't know, education going into it. So yeah.
Great job. I love those answers. Kirsten, do you want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first question that I chose was also what made you want to pursue a career in education? And similarly to Kaylee, it was a teacher that inspired me. I actually really didn't want to teach or do anything along those lines. And my high school English teacher asked me about it and was like, have you ever thought about teaching? I was like, no, I don't want to teach. Absolutely not. And she just kept pestering me about it and was like, you really should think about this. And so I thought about it and I got into a classroom and got some classroom experience, and I fell in love with the kids and I fell in love with the whole experience. And the experiences that I've had since through Whitworth also just really built my love for teaching and the students. And it's not just giving them information or like teaching, but fostering them as a person and a person full of potential and purpose and value, and being able to create an environment where they can know that about themselves is my biggest goal in pursuing teaching. So I think the School of Education has really helped develop that within me and given me practical ways of doing that as well, which is also really helpful. The next question that I chose was, what's been my experience with the School of Education? So like building off of that overall super positive experience. All of the professors and just everybody in the department are so supportive, and they just walk you through everything I have found. And even through the most stressful situations, I've just sat down with professors and been like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. Like, you're gonna be okay, you're gonna make it. And it's just been a wonderful ride, and it's tricky. There's a lot going on, but they're there to guide you, and the whole program is designed to prepare you for like the actual career. And I feel really prepared with specific tools and strategies and experiences that I've had. So if you're thinking about pursuing education, check it out. Honestly, it's been a great experience. My advice that I would give to somebody thinking about majoring in education is to try everything. Get into the classroom, get into the community. That's the advice I would give my past self. If I could like go back and do it again, is just to get more experience in the classroom and with kids, because it's fun and really valuable for what you're going to be doing as a teacher or whatever you end up doing with your degree. So get out there and just see things, get experience. And the last question I chose was my dream job. My dream job is to teach abroad, and to travel and see how other countries structure education. I'm so curious to learn those things. And ultimately, my dream would be able to come back and like take what I've learned and bring it back to American schools. Maybe like low-income neighborhoods have my heart. So just any way that I can support students to get the best education they can is my dream. So here we go. We'll see what happens.
Thank you for sharing. So we were planning on having more people here so that they would be able to ask you guys questions. But since they're not here, I have some questions planned. And the first one is, by far, which has been your favorite field experience or just experience in general, and why? And anyone can go first.
I think I know. I'm debating because I've really enjoyed two particular field experiences, but I think the one that stands out the most in my mind is I was in the EDU 321 before, we left for COVID and stuff. I was at Logan Elementary, and I was in a pull-out classroom, and it had kids, I believe, first through fourth grade, and it was emotional behavioral support is kind of where that was like the focus. And I think the reason it was my favorite is because I was terrified to go. And I did not know what I was going to be walking into. And yeah, it really opened my eyes, I think, and humanized a lot of behaviors that we talk about in class, because I think a lot of times we talk about, like disruptive behaviors or violence in the classroom. And if you don't experience those to like the level that we talk about them in class, I think that they can just kind of seem like this like big scary thing. But when you realize that it's like a 7-year-old swearing at you, I think that there's a lot of like, I don't know, my heart just kind of dropped when I saw that. And it, I don't know, just really made it more real. And then to see the teacher that I was learning from, she has more patience than I could ever like imagine. She's amazing, and the kids just respected her so much. And like I said, we had to leave because COVID and everything, but even like the few weeks that I was there, I feel like I learned so much about compassion, especially when dealing with harder behaviors. And yeah, I was so sad that we had to leave because I felt like I was just gaining confidence in those situations. But yeah, it definitely challenged me the most. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I can go. So I am in an independent study field placement right now, and I am at a middle school in Spokane Valley. And one of the coolest parts of this placement so far is I have gotten to help plan and create the entire 6th grade statistics unit from scratch. So it's working with my mentor teacher, looking at the Common Core state standards, and really just developing this plan and kind of just seeing how it works with the students. And it's been a great experience to actually be able to be part of that process, to be able to create your own curriculum and see how your plans work. Like for me, I'm really into project-based learning and discovery-based lessons, and implementing that into a unit and seeing how these students hold on to that and how they actually process it has been a really great experience, and a lot of self-reflection, failed lessons for sure, but it's definitely helping me grow as a practitioner and as a lesson planner, and that's probably been one of my best experiences just being able to just create this whole unit with my teacher.
I think one of my favorite memories in the field, last semester, I also was really thankful to be in person with a school for my 300 block placement. And I was in an 8th grade math class, which at first was really intimidating because my ideal grade would be like 1st grade. So this was like the opposite end of the spectrum, but they ended up being wonderful. And I just was so appreciative of that experience because my mentor teacher came from a co-teaching structure before teaching at Northwood, and so she kind of allowed my presence in the classroom to be kind of like co-teaching, and so she let me in on some of the lesson planning and grading and a little bit of the teaching, which just given the circumstances of the semester, I was so thankful for, and she was just a lot of fun. And I just remember in particular this one student didn't talk a lot, didn't do his homework, just kind of, I don't know. But he scored really high on the test. And so we were like, this kid is smart, what's going on? And throughout the semester, I would work with him on his assignments and just support him and work with him. And on my last day, I got so emotional because it was like my last day and I was saying bye to the kids. And this kid who never talked or said really anything to any of the teachers, my mentor teacher said this is Kirsten's last day with us, and he looks back at me and he's like, bye. Oh, he had the sweetest heart, and I just love that kid and I miss him. And just making relationships with the kids like that and seeing them progress and grow is just so life-giving.
Wow, you guys, thank you so much for sharing your favorite field experiences. So my next question is, which Whitworth professor in the education department or program has impacted you or touched your Whitworth experience the most?
I can go first. For me, the professor that has touched my heart is Sharon Nacarado. I got to know her best in the 300 block last semester, but just the way that she cares for her students, she prepares us for writing lessons and being in the classroom, but she really showed how much she cared about us as people. And I just remember being in her office one day talking about hard stuff and trying to figure things out, and she prayed with me, and I was just I've never experienced this with a teacher before. And just she taught us how to implement into our own classrooms social emotional learning and caring for the students and building this kind of environment in your own classroom. But she did that by creating that in our class, and so we learned about that style of a classroom firsthand from the way that she structured the class. And just the love and care that she had for us as people really made a difference for me. So
my favorite teacher has probably been David Hoegberg. He's definitely kind of specific towards secondary and math. So possibility that you will never meet him in the School of Education. But I had him for content area instruction, so specifically teaching math to secondary students. And he really showed me how much a passion for your subject plays into teaching your students, which is so important for secondary. He just has so much energy, is a good way to put it, when teaching, and it's infectious, and it just shows you how much having a strong passion for what you do, even if it's something like math, where not a lot of people are passionate about it, but those who are really passionate. And so just seeing how his passion for that exploded through his teaching and how he was a more effective teacher because that passion was really inspiring as I plan to go into the career. So
this is also a hard question because the School of Education is just full of really amazing professors. I don't think I've had one that I didn't like. But I think the professor that's impacted me the most, like overall, is also Sharon Nakarado. I was also in the 300 blog last semester, and I mean, everything that Kirsten said is absolutely true, and she just models good teaching so well. And that, I think that's something that's really unique to the education program, is that not only are we learning the material in the class, but we're learning how to teach from our professors and things that they do. And it's kind of like that extra layer. But specifically, I think with Sharon, last semester was really hard for me in a lot of personal ways, and kind of started to affect how I interacted in class and things like that. And I remember specifically this one day we were on Zoom, and I had basically finished crying right before class and was like holding it together barely. And she was kind of just like, "Hey, Rebecca, can you stay on for a few minutes?" And she just like checked in with me personally. And she was like, "You didn't really participate that much in class. Like, I just wanted to make sure like you were doing okay, you're just tired." And just the fact that not only she recognized that something was different, but wanted to do something about it. It just like really meant a lot to me. And I mean, she's not the only professor that's done that in the past, but yeah, I will never forget that. And I think that just is a really clear sign that she cares so much, like Kirsten said. And I'm really lucky to learn from her.
Thank you guys so much for sharing. Whitworth definitely does have a lot of really great professors, so I can see why it would be hard or to be torn between two professors. So my next question is, in the School of Education, have you been able to travel abroad, with a field experience, or are you planning to?
So the intercultural field experience is one of the highlights of Whitworth, I think. I haven't gone yet, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed. Keith, please let me into the Hawaii trip to go work with students there. I think that's one of the highlights of Whitworth. I've worked with a student teacher from Eastern Washington and explained this intercultural experience to them, and to watch how big their eyes got and be like, "You do what?" was like, "Oh, this isn't a normal thing." And so I'm super excited for that and really hopeful that I'll get to be able to participate in that.
Yeah, I would echo that. I have not traveled with the School of Ed, but I'm really hopeful that in January I can go to Hawaii. I've heard nothing but amazing things about that trip. So yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I also haven't yet gone abroad. But yeah, the thing about Whitworth's education program is that there's so many unique aspects and elements that only Whitworth has. Like the intercultural experience is, as far as I know, only Whitworth. I don't know if there's other schools that do that. And so Whitworth teachers are highly sought after because there's so many unique experiences that they require of us, and they're really valuable, really cool. I'm hoping to do the Australia trip next year, so hopefully.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I really hope you guys get to travel. So my next question, which is kind of more when you actually get into the teaching field and you're actually in a classroom, if you think you will be a spender or a saver. I'm kind of like want to see what you guys think you guys will spend on your first year in supplies teaching.
I'm definitely going to be a spender. I know already. As I've said, I'm really into project-based learning, and I'm really into activities and making math fun and exciting. And so I have all these ideas, and I'm like, yeah, that budget's not going to cover it. So I definitely have a lot planned, and so spending will definitely be something in my future.
I'm kind of the opposite. I'm big into like DIY and how can I make this and I'm sure I could do this myself kind of thoughts. So I don't anticipate spending a ton. I also am like, especially when it comes to like, I don't know, how the room looks and stuff like that. I know there are definitely some teachers that are very gifted in making their room just beautiful. I don't have that same gifting. So I don't think that that's where my focus is going to go. I also was learning in one of my classes this semester of how you can get the kids involved in like creating the space. And that sounds great to me because I would rather them just love to come in than it just look pretty, which I'm sure it will look beautiful. So yeah, I'm also a big, I don't know, proponent of like there is money out there. You just have to ask for it from the right people. So I will probably do that.
I feel like I'll be somewhere in between you guys. Like in my personal life, I don't like spending a lot of money. But when it comes to my classroom, I feel like I'm going to be too excited and there's all these different things. And like, I want my kids to have lots of options and cool materials to work with. So, and there's so many cool like things out there. Like the more I write lesson plans for different classes, I'll be like researching different ideas to get inspiration and people come up with some cool things. So I might be spending more money than I normally would my first year, especially.
Thank you guys for sharing. And I feel like I would definitely be a spender, but like Rebecca said, I do not have the gift of a beautiful classroom. No, I don't have aesthetic.